Hello, my name is Shayna Buga, and I'm a student at Youngstown State University. I am studying to become a nurse practitioner in the specialty of adult geriatric acute care nurse practitioner. Today, I am with a colleague of mine and friend, Mikayla Fauth. Hi, Mikayla.
Hi.
How are you today?
Okay, how are you?
So we have this assignment for our class. We have to interview one of our APRN colleagues, and I'm thankful that you were able to do this with me today.
Absolutely, anytime.
So I have 5 questions that we're going to go over. The first 2 kind of correlate. The first question is, tell me about yourself, and then I'll just bridge it into the second. Describe your APRN position, including specialty.
So, like Shayna said, my name is Mikayla Fauth, and I started in May of 2023 at Cleveland Clinic in their house officer program. As a house officer, we run all of the ICUs in the regional hospitals. We also work in the emergency situations at main campus through the AMET team. But otherwise, we're typically in the regions and like the different ICU settings. So I specifically work at Avon, and there we are like a closed unit, which is great because we strictly run the ICU and then we admit patients in and out of the ICU from the emergency department. So if we feel a patient's not exactly appropriate or needing the ICU, they can go to our step-down unit. So we're able to collaborate with the physicians in our step-down unit as well. But we also are responsible for any emergencies. So overnight, it's kind of stressful because we're the only critical care practitioner in-house.
Okay.
So if there are any emergencies overnight, we respond, we manage the whole thing, we do all of the procedures, so on and so forth. During the daytime, there's more support, but we're still responsible for running the show when there are emergencies. So it's nice to know that you have extra backup on day shift, so it's a little less stressful, but you're still in charge there. But also in the ICU, we are in charge of determining like if patients are ready to transfer out, so on and so forth. We do full admission H&Ps for every patient we bring in, either from the floor or from the ER. And then we also do procedures in the unit. We intubate, we do central lines, we do A lines, stuff like that. So it's a really, really autonomous role in the house officer program, more so than a lot of other positions that I had interviewed for. But I really enjoy it.
A lot of responsibility, but it sounds like you've got a good hand on everything.
It's still really scary, but yeah, I'm definitely starting to feel more like, okay, I'm understanding my role more now that I'm no longer in the mindset of a bedside nurse, which was really the hardest barrier to get over between transitioning from working at bedside last year to this role here.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Okay. Our next question is, do you see... Okay, sorry for the interruption. Do you see an APRN influence in today's healthcare system? If so, how? And if not, why?
So I feel that APRNs are positively influencing modern healthcare in a lot of different ways, inside and outside of the hospital. I know a lot of times, like, they run minute clinics for whether it be like a CVS or a Walgreens. They also run like urgent care, stuff like that. So it alleviates the stress for physicians to have to drive that, since there is a pretty significant physician shortage.
Yes.
But it also allows for patients to get a different kind of care, because a lot of APPs who are in those roles have had experience at the bedside or in a nurse, like a physician's office. So they have a different view on things. So sometimes they might pick up on something that maybe a physician might not.
Yeah.
Another thing that I really think that they're doing a lot of positive things for is they are responsible for a lot of things in the hospital. So it alleviates, again, stress on the physician. So as I explained my role, it allows our intensive care doctors to focus on like the actual cases, so they can really dive deep into the patient's overall care and really get to the bottom of what's really going on.
Yeah.
So that we can just manage like anything the nurses call for, if there's emergent situations in the unit, stuff like that. They'll come and help, but it does allow them to really dig deep into these patients. Another thing that they have utilized within the Cleveland Clinic health system is specialty providers. So like our GI and our ortho providers, they'll have an APP or an APRN coming round on patients for their consults before the actual physician has to come. So a lot of times they're surgeons, so they're like in the OR.
Yeah.
So it allows them to like get an idea of what's going on with the patient before the physician even has to come and see them.
Yeah.
So they can be short and sweet, come assess the patient, figure out what the plan is, and then go from there.
Yeah.
The internal med providers also do a lot. Similar to my role, they admit patients, they do their progress notes during the daytime. So it allows for us to have a really like influential role in our patients' care. And I think it's really improved the quality of patient care overall in and out of the hospital.
Yeah, it seems like it's helped make healthcare smoother.
Yeah.
Maybe help improve timelines. Overall, just help the workload, like you said. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of it goes back to like us having that experience at the bedside.
Yeah.
Because as nurses, we're so used to spending that 12-hour, 13-hour shift with these patients the whole time. So we know, okay, there's more than just what we're seeing in that 15-minute or 20-minute assessment that we're able to do. So I think it's really, really helpful to be able to have that experience under our belts to go forward and do this role.
Yeah. I also think, too, that I've seen some APRNs at the bedside, and I've seen physicians at the bedside. Physicians ask, like, a certain streamline of questions. And then you watch the APRN ask questions, and it's like all that information that they missed that the APRN then just gets out with a whole different line of questions, because we're looking at the way the person lives, like the way they eat, things like that. And the doctor's just focused on how do you feel? What's your pain? Where is it? And we're like, okay, but why are you so swollen? You know, and things like that. So it's definitely cool. It's good to see like all of us come together and like collaborate as a team.
It's really cool. It's really great to interact with everybody and be able to see us progress.
Yeah, for sure. Next question are, what are some of the barriers that APRNs face?
So something I've faced, and I'm sure you've witnessed it, I feel like a lot of old school docs who have been practicing for decades and probably are nearing retirement or probably should be retiring, they don't always take APRNs as seriously as other providers do. So it just causes issues with the overall care for the patient, like whether it be our plan of care and us presenting it to them and they don't want to listen, or we're already practicing and like have a plan of care set in place and they go and change it. It just causes some waves and it makes it difficult. It's not as prevalent where I work, but I've seen it in the past. Luckily, the intensive care docs that I work with in our program, they're really good about like stepping up and saying, hey, like, no, we're doing the plan of care. This is what we've got set in place. And they don't let people like step on us, if that makes sense.
Nice, because you need that. Sometimes you need that reinforcement because there's other people out there that don't want to recognize what we do as legitimate or, you know, as educated as what they have because they did 12 years and, you know, but I think one of the things with our role is it's not necessarily schooling, it's also our backgrounds and what we did prior to schooling.
Yeah.
You know, I know you worked in ICU for a number of years, just like I've, you know, almost racked up a decade of ICU time. So, you know, that goes into our schooling and the way we look at things. So
it will make a huge change in like how you practice based off of what background you have. And I definitely have noticed that I am very grateful for my experience.
I'm sorry.
You're okay. I'm very grateful for my experience working in the ICU in this role now because I'm not so overwhelmed by all of these new things that are going on. So it's really nice.
Yeah, it's not so foreign. It's not like it's a new role, but it's not in a foreign environment.
Yeah, it's not like a huge culture shock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we all know hospitals can be sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, last question. What changes would you like to see made for APRNs?
So I would love to see APRNs in more, to be more present in big decisions when it comes to hospital systems. I feel like a lot of times they have physician-driven committees, which is great, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I feel like because of our background, I feel like we have a lot to bring forward to the table to help not only our patients, but also our coworkers and the nursing staff and just everyone within the health system. I would love to see that. I feel like that would make for really good changes.
Yeah, I think overall our patients and healthcare in general will see more positive effects from us stepping into more in view role that people actually looked at as, you know, instead of seeing the physician, oh, you just saw the nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's more like, oh, you got to see the nurse practitioner. Like that should be the way that people like look when they see, you know, more APRNs in the future. So I think that would be a very, very cool thing to see as well. One thing that I thought about when I read that question was, you know, Ohio becoming a full practice state with our licensure. I think that that could kind of be cool. You know, I think that's something that as a future APRN and as you for an APRN, I think that's something that we should all try to like advocate for.
Absolutely.
You know, actually move forward with that. I was actually looking to see if there's any states near us that have full practice, and there's some close by, but you know, to see Ohio on that list would be amazing.
It really would.
Well, thank you, Mikayla, for taking the time out to discuss all these things with me. You had some really great insight, and I enjoyed talking to you about it.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.